All right. So, moving right along, now that I'm bummed out.
Bum me out.
Yeah, I know, right? I need to stop getting so passionate about it. I care too much. So, I saw a poll on IGN which ties back to what we were talking about in our last podcast about Halo Reach and is it a good game, all this. A lot of people have been hating, quit hating on Halo Reach, haters. And the IGN ranked all the Halos, including ODST, Combat Evolved, Halo 2, Halo 3, and Reach. And they did a big poll, and they ranked all 5 about which is the best Halo. Now, they didn't just do it overall, because there's so many different things you could base it on. And probably most people would choose Halo 2. But they broke it down to different categories, and they said which Halo had the best campaign ever. And coming in at number 5, you had Halo 2. So the one that's actually considered the best Halo, a lot of people actually voted it as the worst campaign. I guess least inventive, which I don't have a problem with that because I base my love in Halo 2 on the multiplayer. But yeah, they actually said that is the worst.
I'd say that they had the best multiplayer as well, the Halo 2, but like the storyline lackluster or something. Like it was just the middle part. What I'm saying between Halo 1 and Halo 3.
Yeah. And then moving on to number 4, you had Halo CE, Combat Evolved. One of the major criticisms for Halo CE, they say, is that it was too easy. Going back and playing it now, in comparison to a lot of the major modern games, is it was it was too easy in retrospect. So you do have that. Can I kill the droid in Forge mode? I don't think you can you?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, you can? Okay. I'll try to do that. Number 3, they had Halo 3. Oh, whoa. Hey, can I jump on that and you move me around?
Right.
Okay. I feel like a Dark Overlord or something. Oh, wait, I can't stay on gravity! Okay, I went in edit mode and saved myself. Yeah, they said at Halo 3, one of the downsides was that was the point when Master Chief was the most overpowered. He felt kind of like a superhero. He could take on the most enemies and all this stuff, but they said even still, it was good enough to land number 3 on the list. I mean, overall, it was a really solid game, so I don't have any problems with that. They say number 2 was Halo 3 ODST. They say the different spin on the storyline and that you were more vulnerable as a human. You couldn't charge in like Master Chief and everything involved. They considered just a good story. They said it had a visually interesting and noir feel. And they ranked that one number 2, which leads us to number 1, which is none other than Halo Reach. Which I know when we were talking about it the other day, you said that is your... you said favorite campaign, did you say? Or I know you said it was really good, but would you say it's the best Halo campaign?
Yes, most definitely. Out of all the Halos.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
That's right. Just for the fact that it's got like you're a whole squad as opposed to one man. And it's before, like, there was only one Spartan.
Well, wasn't ODST a squad as well?
It was a squad, but you were split up. Like, you weren't running together. Like, you were on different parts of the world, and the stories, all pulled together. I mean, there were some points where you did fight with other people, but it wasn't like this one where you got them. Every level you got somebody.
All right. Okay, so they're notch 1 for Halo Reach, best Halo campaign ever. So if you're judging it by single player, which... I mean, I can't believe it, but some people, that's all they play. All they play is single player. Halo Reach might be the best Halo ever, by that measure. Which leads us on to the next poll. Give you something pretty to look at. There you go, waterfall. Here we are. Sorry, guys, I had to go get a beer. So, what is the hardest Halo game of all time? All right, we got another ranking here. And they ranked Halo Combat Evolved at... What's up, buddy?
Suicide.
Oh, you killed me now. Thought you were all friendly.
Trying to pull it.
Combat
Evolved?
Yeah, Combat Evolved, the easiest ever. That ranks number 5 on the list. Number 4 would be Halo 3. They say again because he was kind of like a superhero. Halo 3 was a little bit easier than most. Not quite as easy as Combat Evolved, but number 3 on the hardest games for Halo, you have Halo 3 ODST. So even though you're more vulnerable, they still think that it was tougher at the outset, just because it was hard to adapt to the fact that you were more vulnerable than you were used to as Master Chief. But overall, they say that it was third most. Now, Halo 2, they say was the second hardest Halo of all time, and they give a reference for the Jackal snipers, which if you remember them, they were deadly accurate, pinpoint, and they were quite hard. And also the co-op had a really frustrating feature to where if one person died, both people went back to the checkpoint. So you couldn't do that thing where you kind of bunny hop through the levels, like where one guy goes ahead and the other person kind of hangs back, and if one person dies, that's okay. They could just go kill one person at a time. Couldn't do that in Halo 2, at least on the Legendary mode. You would both go back to the checkpoint if one of you died. So I can see why that would rank number 2. And number 1, of course, Halo Reach. They say that is the hardest Halo of all time. And partially because they changed campaign for the first time to make it scalable. So if you play Legendary with multiple people, in Halo's past, you just get extra help because you got extra people. But in Halo Reach, the more people you added to help you in co-op, the more enemies they would add and the harder they would make them. So it didn't actually get easier. It actually added a challenge when you added more people, which is pretty cool. And that's why IGN, usually popular gaming website, did a poll and ranked that as the hardest Halo ever. So by two measures, you have Halo Reach ranking the top of all Halos of all time. So just another reason, a little example why I don't think it was necessarily as bad as some people make it out to be.
I don't know if I agree with it being the hardest, but it was definitely.
Well, what's your take on it?
Story. I would give the hardest to Halo 2, even though the storyline wasn't. See, it's like backwards with Reach. Even though the storyline, if it wasn't all that great, it was very challenging. Like you said, the Jackal snipers. Those were bits, lack of words. Yeah, they had the hardest levels to me, the hardest maps, and just the way I guess the enemies were set up.
All right. Well, moving on from one Halo. Yeah, I mean, I'd probably say Halo 2 is the hardest for me too, but that's probably because that's the one that I played the most through on single player. Like Halo 2 and the original Halo was the ones I played the most through on single player. I guess because those came out the earliest and I was younger then. Going back to our earlier story, maybe I was more patient. Halo 3, ODST, Reach, I hardly played the campaign at all. But moving on from one Halo story to another, and actually tying back into Halo CE, but this time the remake. You had some updated information for us. We talked about it a little bit in the last podcast, but you wanted to give us some updates?
I do. We were actually in our last podcast. We were conversated about whether or not they would have the armor loadouts, and it turns out they will. Also,
and that is all armor loadouts, right?
Yeah, every one of them.
Including armor lock. Wah, wah.
Sorry, guys. But yeah, that's one good thing, I guess. We will have sprint. Kind of hoping for that.
I mean,
but yeah, and then also they will be bringing back Beaver Creek, but they will be changing it to Battle Creek. So that they're changing names again of the old map. We also put in a complaint about that in the last show too.
Yeah, I mean, because sometimes you'll have these. I mean, Battle Creek. That's pretty easy to tell what it is, but sometimes they'll change the name so much that when you get it in multiplayer, particularly with the new voting system, people won't vote for it because they don't know what it is. They make it too obscure. I mean, really? I mean, you got a classic map, just stick with the name. Yeah. You don't need a different name for every freaking Halo. But that's a minor complaint compared to the fact that I'm not glad that they're actually putting it in. More maps, the better, which we talked about last time.
They said they added some things. I'm not sure what that will entail, but it's going to be a little different. I guess the basic setup still, but both bases across the river. But apparently they've added some other objects, like maybe some more ranch or something.
It was always a fun map for me, especially capturing the flag, because you had these two bases, kind of like bunkers, into the earth, and you had to kind of protect them and bring the flags back and forth. And it was a close map, so it was real fast-paced, and it was a big contrast between the inside the bases, the little bunker battles, and then outside. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to this game. A couple of corrections about our Halo CE talk from the first podcast is we speculated, we weren't sure about the price of Halo CE. It turns out it will be going for $39.99, so that is great news for everybody involved. Positive news if you're worried about 343 being Microsoft and maybe being too greedy, because you know that we talked about how they made ODST a full-price game when they really had no right to, and looks like they learned their lesson. They're going to make Halo CE a remake, just $39.99, because it is based on the Reach engine, so that is great news indeed. Maybe a lot of people, I'm hoping a lot of people that might have been turned off by Reach will pick this game up and reinvigorate the series based just on the price tag alone. You know, it's not as hard of a pill to swallow as a full $60 game. And then lastly, you were wondering about what other maps were there. The original maps we were griping about. You know, there's for Team Slayer, you've got Sword Base and Countdown, and we're like, what else? Well, I end up remembering that there's also Powerhouse. You rarely see it because it was played to death in the demo. So that's probably why. Yeah, and I think that's part of the reason. So Powerhouse was another original map. It's not really one of my favorites. I'm not a big Powerhouse fan, to be honest with you. But they had it in there, so I'll give them credit for that. 3 maps. You know, okay, big deal. It's still piss poor, to be honest with you.